I'm Strongman. This video introduces a series of videos that involve my narration of The Holy Science by Swami Sri Yukteswar. His photo is right here. This is Swami Sri Yukteswar. This is the cover page inside the book, The Holy Science. Sri Yukteswar lived 1855 to 1936. I'm not going to read the publisher's notes inside the paper cover for the hard book. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do three things. Two, I'm going to read to you the book's foreword, written by Paramahansa Yogananda, arguably Sri Yukteswar's foremost disciple at that time. Well, Paramahansa Yogananda has relinquished his mortal coil as well by now, as well as the preface then by W.Y. Evans Wentz, Master of Arts, Doctorate of Literature, and Doctor of Science, author of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Tibet's Great Yogi Milarepa, and Tibetan Yoga and Secret Doctrines, and other important works. I'll read you both of those, the foreword and the preface, and I think for good reason. That reason being, I had previously, I think on this channel, I had narrated chapter 1 without the prefacing material and the forwarding material, and without, I think, an introduction of my own, like this one is. Just the chapter 1. In 1 year's time, I think that the video got only maybe one view, which included or involved a comment under the video saying, you have to be careful who you present as an authority on such things, on such, kinds of material. Who this person claims to have been, some avatar, whatever, a master, a great guru, a Swami this, or whatever that. There are, the world is full of false prophets, fake gurus, imposters, people who claim to be holy men, people who claim to have access to some kind of divine wisdom, and anybody who really is or was such a thing within the last, 500 years or so, wouldn't write information like what's supposedly in here for the general public. Come on. So, to maintain the integrity of your channel, mine, be careful about this kind of thing here, because, keep your material real. Alright. I deleted my video. That was my viewership of it. I understand that comment. I understand the facts of the world to which its content points. There was a lot of truth in that, in the content of that comment. And it was not meant as an insult to me. It was meant to be helpful and to, put me a little bit more on guard, be a little bit more discriminative, be a little bit more selective if I had slacked in those areas to maintain the integrity of my channel, the genuineness of the material, and so as to not mislead people. Perhaps as a result of me having been misled, or not stated the proper disclaimer before narrating such a book. Now, why am I going to all this length here to tell you this? It's because I'm going to narrate the whole book and put it here. And I want to the best of my ability right now, tell you what my point of view is about the material in here and its author's genuineness. And that some of that will be to help me. The foreword and the preface will come into play. Because those are to other people's points of view of that. Okay. What would make the person, Swami Sri Yukteswar, the book's author, come into such question? What could be said about him if you just want to give a brief description? Well, he was such and such. And, that could cause eyebrows to raise. Like, oh, really? Oh, sure. Okay. All right. Bullshit alert. You've been hoodwinked. I'm not falling for it. What would be said about him that would cause that? That he was a Jan avatar. Jnana-Vatar. Look it up. Jhana, the first part of that word, Jhana avatar, is a yogic path. When followed by the word yoga, jhana yoga. It is the path of wisdom. It is of a variety of forms of yoga. The main ones, each, the name of each, denoting a path to self-realization, self-actualization, liberation of the soul, coming to a yoking of the self with the larger self of manifestation and with its cause at the core level. Any terms or descriptions you want of that, there are various pathways to it in the overall yogic system. Raja Yoga being the path of mental discipline, development of the mental faculties such as attention, concentration, development of the use of will, development of the central nervous system. The Bhakti Yoga path is the path of devotion and love. Karma Yoga, the path of action. Each of these paths appeal to different, different character types, according to their needs and where they are at currently in their cosmic sojourn. Some people are more aligned with philosophical thought than are others. Such a person may emphasize, if they're on a path of attainment, doesn't have to be yogic. If their main emphasis, their main thrust, their kind of like default core approach to affairs has to do with reasoning things through, has to do with using the intellect to transcend the intellect, which is quite a trick to pull off. A more philosophical side, the person is likely to follow a jhana, what we would call, he's kind of like, he's enlarged on the jhana track. Rarely does anybody follow any one of these essential courses of methods of approach to their path of attainment, to the exclusion of any other. It's almost always a combination. In fact, it should be. In a sense, it must be. Yes. It's a matter of emphasis. It's a matter of primary approach. The most difficult, if you want to pull out these different paths, these different emphases, and just look at each one of them in and of itself. Jnana Yoga is probably the most difficult because it involves the use of reasoning quite a lot, which is a function of the intellect. And the intellect, being a rather high mental function, belongs to the lower mental plane, which is tied into the world of the physical senses. The information used by the intellect to serve as a bullshit detector, to keep us in line, to let us know when we're engaging in a thinking error. That's its primary function. Gets its essential information by way of the physical senses. It's a lower plane mental function, happens to be the highest one. So, to use that function in such a manner as to transcend that into higher mental plane functioning, the higher mental plane being, I guess you could say, the lowest plane of the higher set of planes, the content of which roots at the opposite end of the scale, not the sensory world, but the highest level of the spiritual planes. That's the root of all activity of the higher set of planes. So, to use the highest function of the lower set of planes to get to the higher set of planes is a good trick to pull off. That's a real puzzle. That's a real task for the mind. Therefore, it's pretty much accepted that the philosophical or wisdom way is the most difficult. Okay. Now, a jnana yogi is one whose emphasis is that. And you would expect that such a person would be, full of wisdom. Okay. So let's say you have a bona fide master. Jnana Yoga master. Okay. A Swami monk. Steeped in the Jnana Yoga tradition. As well as, the other forms of yoga that coincide with it. Well, in fact, let's say you have a master of those masters. In fact, let's say that the very principle of divine wisdom itself, let's say the knowing aspect of divinity itself, whatever that is, okay? Let's say God is all-knowing. Well, let's say that knowing takes on a flesh form. Serve a certain purpose, a specific purpose in the world at that time when it is needed. Well, that would be a divine incarnation of divine wisdom in the flesh. That would be a jnana avatar. That is what description or title has been ascribed to Swami Sri Yukteswar. I don't think he said that about himself. In contrast to the comment or the suggestion under my video, and I deleted, that anybody who claims this kind of a title for himself, well, I don't know that he claimed it. I don't think he did. No. I know a considerable amount about him, about his life, about his doings. I do, and I'll tell you how. It's part of this introduction. He was part of a guru lineage or lineup, Hindu, with which I once had affiliation in my life. His guru was the Venerable Lahiri Mahasaya, who revived a long dead yogic system, a very comprehensive and highway path of yoga called Kriya Yoga. Now, it has taken on various forms since then, but it was revived by Yukteswar's guru, Lahiri Mahasaya. Lahiri Mahasaya's eternal guru is a person, if you would call it that, of an extraordinarily rare sort, another sort that is even more apt than Yukteswar here to cause some brow raising if described, or even named. Babaji. There was only one genuine Babaji. There are many in India who claim to be that person. Imposters. Nanny, I am Babaji. He is Babaji. My teacher is Babaji. Nanny, but there's really only one. I don't even want to talk about Babaji right now. It's not the point. Yukteswar, a bona fide John Avatar, as I have defined it here. To the best of any public knowledge, the only thing that he wrote or authored is this book. A very small little volume. But it is intense. His material is powerful. It's not really for the novice. It's not exactly written in just everyday plain language because of its density. You know, it's written very clearly. A very clear mind did the writing. But to narrate it, and for you to understand what is being said, you may have to listen very closely and rewind and listen again, time and time again. This is not going to be a series of narrations of a book that will be easy listening. But I'm going to do it anyway. Because when it comes to Jnana Yoga, an example of some of the material of Jnana Yoga, this is exemplary. It is not the entire field of Jnana Yoga. It's not a book on Jnana Yoga. It doesn't claim to be, and it's not. But it does, the material in it is written by a Jnana Avatar. What other material has been written by such a personage? I don't know. There may be none. But this is over on a specific subject matter. In it, well, you'll see what's in it when I get to the forward and the preface. Well, that's not this video. That'll follow. That'll be the next video. The forward and the preface. Okay, so listen. Sri Yukteswar's perhaps most known disciple was Paramahansa Yogananda. And he wrote a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi. If you want to learn more about Yukteswar's life, read that. I mean, Yogananda being the main disciple, or the one who has done the most in the world, is most well known of Yukteswar's is Yogananda. So he wrote an autobiography, which is fascinating and very instructive and very easy to read, a pleasure to read, fascinating. Obviously, he's going to talk a lot about his guru, Yukteswar. Originated in the mind of Babaji was that Yogananda bring the science of Kriya Yoga to the West. In Buddhism, probably D.T. Suzuki was the first to bring Buddhism, bona fide Buddhism, to the West. Hinduism, or the yogic path of attainment, probably the first two to do that were Swami Vivekananda and Paramahansa Yogananda. Two different approaches. And at least by now, Yogananda has, his actions have had the greater impact in Western civilization. In India, he founded a school, a way to propagate and maintain Kriya Yoga as he brought it to the West, initiated long ago in the mind of Babaji for him to do this. Kriya Yoga as Lahiri Mahasaya revived it in India. And as learned by way of the Guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, by way of Yogananda, creating the Yogata Satsanga Society in India, but more notably, the Self-Realization Fellowship, its American counterpart, the Yogata Satsanga Society of India's American counterpart, the Self-Realization Fellowship, SRF, in California, which still exists. Okay. I was a devotee. I guess you could say a disciple, but a neophyte. I had personal association with certain of the monks. They are monks in the Swami order. All of these people I'm talking about here are Swami order initiates. The Swami monastic order being the oldest existing such thing on the planet. Still going today. Dates back further than any other going today. When I got to the point of initiation, I stopped. I didn't feel right about it for myself. Not because I didn't feel fit. It's because I did not want to have what is proposed, at least traditionally, to be an eternal membership of any specific path of anything. I felt it would be limiting, no matter how limitless the path may be. And also, such an initiation in the yogic tradition establishes an eternal guru-disciple relationship. I didn't want that either. On the grounds that I cannot predict the future. I cannot predict when some being may fall. And also, I had by then come to recognize my true self. I had self-recognized, at least. True self-recognition, true self-realization, or actualization, and followed by true self-manifestation. I had at least recognized, and it just rang intuitively true to me that the true self is sovereign and does not, at least for me, come under the leadership or devotionship to some specific being, other being, personage, master, any such thing. I did not want to engage in any kind of like an eternal allegiance to any such thing. So I stopped. Meanwhile, I think I gained enough awareness of these affairs to be able to sit here and tell you that this is the real shit. And that Yukteswar is the real deal. So I do not expect to find any comments down here under any of the videos here from anybody who has heard this introductory video to the series along the lines of that which I got, which appeared before. That's the introduction to this series. In the next video of this series, I will narrate without further commentary, of my own, the foreword and the preface of the book, followed by chapter after chapter. See you in the next one.